y la volamos. Y los privadeces ya te tronamos las pacas. Y sin Yolanda me voy a empezar. Polvito rosa, plumita de guac. Esta cintura vale 30K. No puedes pagar, no te va a alcanzar.
Viviendo en el San Andrés, pero de a de veras, carros y ferias. 3 estrellas me atoraron, la clave en caliente, desafanaron. Music cocaine, me gusta el Lambo, pero es el Mercedes. Ese es muy bella y se deja querer. Le gusta de a 100, quiere mi Cartier. Oh, 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 ah.
Así nomás, compa Peso, compa Junior.
Bravito, doble P.
Pura doble P, viejo. Que siga la mata dando, compa Junior. Compa Gavito.
11 números de suerte, 7 bien pendientes. Y andamos fuertes. Zumbando en el racer, máscaras, polvo y ambiente. Brillan mis dientes, no soy fresón, pero en Egipto shishas fumo yo. Para mariscos frescos en Japón.
Hey, how you doing?
I like the game. How was it?
Yeah, can you you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
1,
Huh?
3-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you though. Sounds kind of
My connection, dude.
yeah, it sounds pretty choppy.
I might have to restart because it's been the Twitter, like it hasn't been loading.
Oh.
Let me restart it, alright?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me restart the whole thing.
All right, cool. Let me kick this off while Joel fixes his audio. Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to La Cantina MX Football Podcast. We're on episode 402. And the title of today's episode is Chivas Crisis Center. If you know, you know. Chivas have just wrapped up their match week 11 against Mazatlan. And they fall 3-1 at home. And this is a full-blown concern for Chivas fans everywhere. They just have not been the same team since Leagues Cup interrupted their 3-game winning streak. We're going to be talking about that and some observations I've had of the game. Also, some other results that happened over the weekend that we get a chance to cover. Some upsets, some shocking results. And, we'll probably talk about some more chisme around the Mexican national team or players abroad. So stick with us. We're broadcasting live on Twitter Spaces and YouTube. So if you want to speak up, raise your hand. We'll patch you in. Or if you have some comments because you're a keyboard warrior, just hop on YouTube, send us a chat. I'll read it out for everyone to listen to. But really, the big story right now is the 3-1 defeat for Guadalajara tonight against Mazatlan. It wasn't even close. Mazatlan scored very, very early in the first half, 37th minute, and then the 43rd. So it was a 1-2 punch. And the team just did not look like themselves today. And it was actually 3-0 at one point that Eduard Bello scored the gut punch, el gancho al hígado. And then, sort of a consolation prize, Piojo Alvarado does get Chivas on the board with his left foot. But the overall sentiment tonight is not good. One of the things that really surprised me is how quickly the fans are turning. Alexis Vega did not start today. He's been having issues with his knee. And my theory is that they are a lot more severe than we think. He's been only playing 45 minutes, and even those 45 minutes, he really has been hobbling along. But the big shock for me was him coming in at halftime. We're down 2-0, and the fans boo him as he enters the pitch. You know, how quickly they have turned on him. This was the same guy who got, a standing ovation when he decided to stay and get his contract extended at Chivas. Now all of a sudden it's just not good enough. So really concerned about that. Also, the fans did turn on the team. At one point they were cheering Mazatlan. They were doing the oles every time they passed the ball, and just booing every time Alexis had the ball. So this has gotten ugly. The fans are fickle. This was the same team that made a final just a couple months ago, and I'm not sure what happened between then and now, but this team has gone on a downward slump, and it just does not seem like they are snapping out of it anytime soon. And the frustrating part is, you don't really see any changes. We had Iron Man have a press conference after their 4-0 defeat against America. He told the fans that he's happy with Paunovic, that he knows this is the same team that was very close to winning a final. So he has the right players and the right coach, and all they got to do is keep working. But you just don't see it on the pitch. And Paunovic also had some very nice remarks, some motivational speeches, but you just don't see it being executed. And, it's hard not to question, has he lost the locker room? Why does he have a cut above his eyebrow? Was that a off the field incident? Was that a locker room incident? There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around right now. It reminds me of when Sir Alex Ferguson had a little berrinche in the locker room and threw a cleat at David Beckham, and David Beckham got cut above the eye, and it was kind of held as a secret, and we didn't find out about it until after the fact. So I don't know if years down the road we're gonna find out that Paunovic got that cut above his eye over, I don't know, a scrap with one of the players. But I do have to question, has he lost the locker room? This team does not look like the same team that was fighting for him just a couple months ago. We have our usual cast jumping in now. Joel, thanks for fixing your audio. How's your day going?
Well, let's hope it's working fine now.
Yeah.
It was going well, Jaime, up until I saw that 2-1 defeat at home. I was like, damn. I don't know how much longer I can stay on the Pauneta.
Yeah,
It keeps
I don't
breaking
know.
down.
Do you have any conspiracy theories for me? Because it seems to me that he's losing the locker room.
I did hear that, and I didn't want to believe it because you usually hear murmurs, or at least give me an example. But man, yeah, these last two games just a matter. No, not the 0-0 too much of the Clásico, and this one. Yeah, it seems like they didn't even put their hands up, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he keeps saying the right things in the press conferences, and so does Ignacio Hierro. Or sorry, Fernando Hierro. But what we're actually seeing on the pitch is it just doesn't translate. It doesn't execute, and it's hard to blame. Like, is it the players? Is it the coach? Because this is the same team that went to a final just a couple months ago. So it's like, what exactly broke? What happened?
Man, it's like you were saying about the Beckham cleat incident, cleat to the face. Eventually, all this stuff gets filtered out. Usually, a few years down the line. But yeah, I'm willing to believe that the players are making the bed. If that's the case, I'll be disappointed in the squad I don't really like when, you know, lack of professionalism. I see it as that.
Uh huh.
So I hope that's not the case, but we see it happen very often.
If there's one thing that's consistent throughout not just Chivas but Mexican football, it's the inconsistency. Prime example, we had Monterrey, who has had some serious off-season transfers, some big signings, Canales and Tecatito. They've had some really good matches to return from League's Cup, and all of a sudden they get their shit pushed in against Tigres 3-0 on Saturday. It's just like a lot of inconsistency throughout
But
the
Tigres
league.
is a big team, though. Like, I know people won't agree with that, but they're one of the strongest teams with the type of squad to do that to. Like, if there's a team that could do that
To
to
Rayados.
Rayados, yeah, it
Mhm.
would be Tigres, man. It would,
Yeah, but
because I mean they're
the
just as stacked.
so just to like piggyback off of that, Atlas just come from beating Tigres 2-0, so this shit's all over the place. There's no, you can't, there's no consistency, bro. This is all over the place.
Tigres when they were bringing for the Clásico. Yeah, I'll say this is what makes the Liga MX exciting because one of our favorite national team coaches said it, Tato Martino, how any team can beat any team. He was comparing it to La Liga, where he's because he called Liga MX more competitive than La Liga, and the media went after him. And then I remember after a match and during the press conference, he doubled down and he said, "Getting your shit pushed in 5-0, it doesn't mean it's competitive."
Hmm.
And then he gave examples of how, Liga MX, any team can beat any team, and for him, that was what made it. That was when we liked that on before we were like frenemies, Jaime.
But is it a competitive league, or is it just a matter of everyone's just pretty
Uh,
much mediocre?
it's both. No, it's both. I think the league structure makes it mediocre because you're allowed to slack off, and especially when they had 12 teams, and being able to still, you know, go to like a playoff, uh, and even at 8, that allows teams to hit a slump, and then at the end of the season win like 3 or 4 games, and we're back in. And so I do think that gives us all those irregularities where even the club owners will be like, all right, they'll just start switching up coaches mid-season. And again, the tournaments aren't even a full season; they're half a season
Yeah, half a
since they're
season.
cutting two. So yeah, I would say it's both because the teams by and large go and get pretty good players. So I think they're able to do that. But yeah, at the same time, just the system, short season and playoff, we get to see that. We get to see some teams that aren't so good,
Yeah.
have a chance to win the league. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be the best of the best.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, right now, if we look at the standings, San Luis has 19 points. They're in first place. I don't think anybody would have predicted that. America in second with 18, Tigres in third with 17, Juarez, another team, the dark horse, not so dark right now, in fourth with 15, Atlas with 15, Pumas with 15, and Chivas, despite the 5 last games without a win, they're still, within a couple of points. With they're in seventh place with 14 points.
Yeah, and it's surprising as they might seem with some of those. Like if we're keeping track, so like I was keeping track of Juarez since they had brought in Tuca, and I knew they had hired one of the ex Tigres directivos, and even some of the players they were bringing in, ex national team players. And so I was like, someone's investing some good coin in that team, and they've been. It looks like they've kept they kept their investment, and it's paying off with San Luis. I didn't even bother to check on them, but I'm sure if we kept tabs, we would probably notice that they were lining up to do something good.
Yeah, there's an interesting project happening at Juarez, and yeah, I mean they're doing well. Ironically, after Tuca's departure, so kudos to them. Kudos to San Luis, who beat Mazatlan on Saturday, 3-2. You have Pumas, who are, I mean, Chino Huerta, man, he's carrying that team to glory. I wish Beto was here. I would love to hear his thoughts. But Chino Huerta, man, that's a player that was laughed out of Chivas, got loaned out a few times, and now he's finally hit his stride at Pumas, gotten some recognition on the national team, already scored on his debut. Things are really looking good for him. And ironically, he's a player that could really help us out right now, especially with Alexis Vega having a bum knee. And it seems like today, Eric Gutierrez, our big signing, was sidelined with an injury. So I don't know as far as the health of this team. I'm not sure if the team is 100% healthy, and if that's also one of the factors of why we've had some terrible results lately.
Yeah, that could be it too. That could probably be the main reason we're all here, going the other route, the novela, because this Liga MX with conspiracies. Wait, yeah, Chivas been battling injuries for a long time. I think it's been a big hindrance for a while. Doesn't help. A lot of players they bring are also like damaged. It's like like when you go to the store and it's like if a can got the dent because it was dropped. It's like it's like a
I
discount.
don't know if they still do that after Big Daddy. I think they stopped honoring that discount. They're like, nah, we saw Big Daddy. You guys are trying to jip us.
Well, the kind of things with Chivas, and every time they bring players, they're damaged. They like, and I don't think that they're hiding the injury because that's why they always do the medicals.
Uh
And
huh.
they're able to know. They they able to know. I guess Chivas like, all right, dude, let's just patch it up and let's see. Let's hope it gets there. I really need you to see this video, Jaime. I need to look for it. La Familia something goes to Acapulco. That's gonna be describing Chivas, dude.
Yeah, I have to
And it's
watch it.
like yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. I'll look for the name and I'll share it to the listeners. I don't want to just leave it at that, but it's a really poor family in the FA. They got this big station wagon looking car. And it's like 10 of them plus a dog,
Hmm.
all packed in, and they're going to Acapulco. They're just gonna go for a weekend, and I don't know how some or why, but some camera crew followed them, and their car just kept breaking down along the way. They would have to stop for 3-4 hours at a time, and it's it's kind of funny, but you have to admire these guys. They make their destination. I think that sort of like Chivas feels to me right now. Team keeps breaking down, but I feel that they still make playoffs. And I wasn't thinking they would be playing another final, but I did feel that at the least they would be in Liguilla. I still think that's a possibility.
Yeah, well, Chivas just played their 10th match, which means they only have 7 left to qualify. Again, they're currently sitting in 7th position with 14 points, but they have a game at hand or a game ahead. So, after the weekend, I think the other teams will catch up or even surpass Chivas. Their next match is against Toluca on the 1st at 4:20. So, that's not an easy test for them, especially if you're struggling with the likes of, Mazatlan. What can a Toluca do to you? So, a little concerning there. They did have a match on Saturday. They tied against Pachuca by the skin of their teeth. We had a penalty called late in the match, and our goalkeeper he saved the day. So Chivas again in the last 5 matches have had, I believe, 4 defeats and 1 draw. I mean, this is just a terrible, terrible streak. And this is where we're going to see what a foreign sporting director and a foreign coach do to Chivas, right? Because most likely a lot of the times we fall into the same patterns, right? You get rid of the coach mid-season and then you start all over again. But I think they're going to insist on sticking with their guy. They trust the process. I just want to know at one point, where does Hierro's patience run out? And when will he have to make that tough decision? There was a video floating around the weekend. It wasn't even a Chivas game. It was a Tapatio game, and he just looked completely frustrated and defeated. And I can't imagine how he's feeling tonight.
Yeah, it's tough to, but again, let's keep in mind, it's half a season. You would have to let him finish. By him, I mean Pau, finish the season, and then judge him based on how he did in the both tournaments. I think that's the logical thing to do, unless it's on some extreme cases. I feel where like the players just have zero confidence on the coach. But I don't. It's hard for me to see that because, as you said, Jaime, they played a final. What were they?
It's
20,
mind-blowing,
20 minutes
dude.
or 30 from winning? How much were they from winning, Jaime? Like 30 minutes, maybe?
They were, yeah, man. They were
30, whatever. But still, man. I mean, he took you there. He was part of it. You don't just all of a sudden lose confidence after 3, 4 games. So I'm hoping it's more along the lines of just a combination of injuries, and he seems to be the type of where their training regimen, where I think he's kind of the type that like runs the players to the ground.
Oh, that's interesting. That could be another theory there. Overtraining.
They would. Yeah, but I think it has the upside towards the end of the season. It's when then all of a sudden, I forgot because we was looking at it was like an article,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember talking about this with Peach, but fucker doesn't want to come on and talk. I know he remembers, and I hate that you can't do the searches on, like when you have discussions on the DMs.
You can't.
And I loved if you could go back because I would find it.
Mm-hmm.
I would find that article so quick. But that could probably be a combination of that and just the injuries. And some of these players still not Alexis, some of them not even at 100. But I found the video, Jaime. So for those of you guys interested, go to YouTube and type Vasquez viajan a Acapulco, and the Vasquez spelling is V as in Victor, A, C as in zebra, Q-U-E, and C as in zebra again. And some people sometimes spell it with an S.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's Vasquez. And you could even see their wagon. It's all like falling apart.
Wait, so is this is like a real family?
True. Yes.
Oh
yeah, dude,
my
it's
god.
And it's like a 4-minute clip. I don't know if there's a longer one.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh, you're watching?
Es su camioneta, Doña Eustolia, 4 de sus 8 hijos, sus yernos, nueras y nietos. Conózcalos, son los Vázquez.
¿Cuántos bien?
Como 15.
¿Ya está el perrito?
Hasta el perro.
Se rompió una rótula de las llantas. Ya estamos aquí de las 6 de la mañana, tengo que ir hasta...
Oh my god, bro. They're like the Beverly Hillbillies, bro. Just
yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, Ma and Paul.
Hasta el perro, bro. That's hilarious. Oh my god. I'll have to link it in the podcast after, when we upload this. I'll put the
Yeah,
I'll put the YouTube videos everybody can watch post record.
I
That's
think
that's hilarious.
I think it's like 8 hours. I don't remember. I've done the trip on bus before. I think it's like 8 hours from DF to Acapulco. It's around that time. But I think it takes them like a whole day just because, like their car's like leaking gas and flat tire and
Yeah.
everything kept breaking down, but these guys kept figuring a way to patch it up and keep going.
Keep going.
So I'm hoping.
Yeah, I just started reading this book called Grit. I'm in sales, so they always recommend, these type of books. But, they said that it's not the most talented or the most gifted or the most intelligent that end up being successful. It's the ones that just, keep going, keep pushing. Even though their car breaks down, you find a way. And we'll see. Like, the problem with Chivas is I just don't see that. I don't see the attitude. I don't see the mindset. I don't see it on the pitch, right? So you can say all these nice things, but at the end of the day, man, these players are just not up to par. And again, I just don't know what happened. I mean, we started the season with 3 victories, and I don't know what happened between Leagues Cup and now, and something broke along the way. I don't know if like the new signings, Ricardo Marin and Eric Gutierrez, I don't know if that created a chemical reaction in a bad way. Like the team was gelling, right? Pocho's being practically erased from the team. Alexis has a nasty injury, and it's just a lot of things are broken, and unfortunately I'm also a Manchester United fan, and I'm seeing like parallels, right? We have, players leaving through the back door with, Cristiano Ronaldo and him having issues with Den Haag. And like now we have like Sancho, he had to delete his Instagram because he was getting so many like, hate. And I feel like Chivas are like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the coach or the players or both, but I will say this. If Chivas fail to qualify to Liguilla, I think that's the end of Pau. I know it sounds crazy because he got us to a final, but that's the reality of things.
Damn.
Sometimes you just
Like
lose.
that?
Sometimes you just lose the locker room, bro, and it's, all for one and one for all. We have Ron joining us. I don't know if he's got his mic on, but welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Great reference with the Familia Vasquez. That's that's
He's the one that showed it to me.
yeah. I always use that meme. But no, going back to that, news coverage of that family. I mean, it's people can make fun of it, but at the end of the day, a very united family, and they whatever it takes to get ahead, they do it. But
it's true. Really quick on what you just said, because despite like all their hindrances, these dudes do their shit. Like, not the average person wouldn't be able to get a car going if it broke down. With some of the stuff they had, they just figured it out. Like, and I thought they had jobs working like as a mechanic or certain jobs. I feel like it's just stuff that they had to learn.
Yeah, I mean they're basically Mexican MacGyvers. I mean they can make they can make anything. But I mean I remember the scene. I think it was.
I don't think most people won't get that reference.
Yeah, it was a TV Azteca. Yeah, it was a TV Azteca. Like a news, or like kind of like when it was a TV Azteca like video reporting.
It's
but
Hechos TV.
Yeah, TV Azteca. But yeah, I use that reference a lot, that meme, but So do you guys think that Chivas has enough time to turn it around, or not really?
I do. I do. It's 7 games. That's a lot.
7 games is still plenty, but they face Toluca, Atlas. Let's see who's after that. Puebla, which is accessible. Then you have Tigres. Ouch. Querétaro. Yeah, you could probably win that match. Cruz Azul. That should be fun. And then we end with Pumas, which would be a dogfight. So, yeah, they might be able to get a couple victories and squeeze in. I don't know if they're doing the top 6 and then the playoff or play in from 7 to 10. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's the losing the points at home that hurt. So the last 2, I think they were home games. Was Pachuca a home game?
Pachuca was a home game. Can't get
and then Mazatlan.
Yep.
So Chivas got 1 point out of 6. So that will hurt them. They're like obligated to win on the road now. But you could usually, like, if you win at home and then just scratch a few points here and there, that gets you through. But yeah, if they keep losing at home or losing points, then yeah, that will
been
that would definitely hurt.
I don't know. It's been Haley's comments since the last time I saw Chivas have a fortress at home. It's been a long time since I've seen.
Oh yeah, I don't think I see.
There was a time in play, when you went to Jalisco, you lost, and it was an intimidating. Haven't seen that in a long time.
Oh, I never seen that at the Zombie Life. I just never seen that stadium that ever became like as a fort or the Chiva Fortress or like or even be known as a complicated venue. I've never seen it like that.
I would say their Libertadores run in 2010, maybe, but it was like artificial grass at that time, and it was a different, pace, different players, obviously. But yeah, I don't think the Omni Life or whatever they call it now, Lacron, I don't think it's ever had it's carried weight. It's not like El Azteca. It's like, oh shit, But it's different, man.
It was never meant to be that. It was meant to be basically a commercial center, / cultural center.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and see the renders of the entire complex, it was supposed to have like a palenque. It was supposed to have a library. It was supposed to have a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to have a shopping center. So it was never meant to be an intimidating fortress. It was supposed to be basically a money making facility.
Wait, you still think La Azteca carries weight? Because that's the number one complaint I hear about people of Mexico playing there, that Azteca no longer carries weight.
Well, here's the thing.
You're not talking about selección now, are you?
No, here's the
with America. Do you see teams going to La Azteca and like parking the bus because they're afraid to play there?
They actually still park the bus there when they play against America. Holy will attest to this because I've said this for years, that I always preferred America playing on the road because it was more likely for America to face a team open up in front of their own crowd than to go to the Azteca and basically bunker. Now, do they bunker as much as before? No. But they still play America a little different when they're at the Azteca. But in general, in general terms, the Azteca has lost its a little bit of its psyche, its fortress, because they've and I say this as an architect, they've really fucked up that stadium, like the interior.
They bent over backwards for the NFL, right?
Well, not just that, but when you look at the original design intent of what it looked like, even 30 years ago or 20 years ago, and then little by little they started to do more of the started to copy a lot of what the U.S. stadiums were doing, where adding swimming pools and adding restaurants and making it more like a social life thing. Azteca basically took out like 20,000 seats for that. Remember that free? I think it was called the Freedom Restaurant. Remember you could see the logo on like it was like a restaurant, you know, in the stands.
Oh,
And then they remodeled it again and stuff like that. So what used to be 120 now is less than 100
it's like
less
80.
than 80,000.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those 20K people were the thugs.
The
So, I mean,
The thug fans.
the
They got
20k
priced
that they cut off were the apocalypto people, man. They needed us.
so
They needed to put some more VIP, some more enterprise, for the NFL, right? It's
Yeah.
like you had to make it
Bring the
for.
wheelbarrow.
so you take away the fans, you take away the fans, like, especially in the first, in the general stands, and like near the
Yeah.
pitch.
No, I hear you.
And then you add another thing where a lot of the players that play in the, on the national team, most of them are not, playing in Mexico City anymore. They're either playing in Europe, they're playing in the US and stuff like that. So like when the national team comes, our guys are gassed too, just because they're not used to the altitude anymore.
It's lost its advantage and its intimidation factor
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Yeah, but I wouldn't
there's
hate on El Acron though, because if you ask me, that's every stadium in Mexico. No pesan como antes because of what La Federación did with whether we think it's the right thing they did or the wrong thing they did. Like you don't have that fan connection with the team anymore. You don't have the chants. You don't have the flags. You don't have the players.
I can't
It's
speak for
literally.
all stadiums though. I think Nuevo León does a great job.
I was
But
going to
when you say
mention, right?
pesa,
I was going to mention. I don't know if you guys saw like the Toluca America game. For me, for my money,
La Bombonera.
Toluca has, yeah, they have the best atmosphere, the best stadium.
I love
As
that
a
stadium.
traditionalist, as a traditionalist, that stadium right now is probably the best. I think that's probably the best stadium in all of Mexico in terms of soccer,
I
because
love
it's just
yeah.
it's like it's in the neighborhood. It's an English style. The fans are very close. And then, and then with the new remodel, or it's not even a remodel, technically, it's a new stadium within, the old confines, of the facility. I just thought that it's an amazing stadium, and the atmosphere is, second to none. Tigres and Toluca, I think Tigres' stadium is crap, but their atmosphere is second to none. I mean, they have an amazing atmosphere, but they do need they need a stadium.
They need a
They
new
need a better
stadium,
stadium.
but they are some of the the most consistent fans out there. You rarely see a Tigres game empty. They are consistently one of the best attending teams in the league. And yeah,
Even when they were in the second division. But
and
that's just in
they're
general.
also I think one of the most
Monterrey
expensive.
fans have always, yeah, Monterrey fans have always been supportive of their teams. Whether it's baseball, whether it's soccer, whether it's college football.
Yeah, I know we kind of started talking about Selección, but I would reward those venues by allowing the Selección to play games there, instead of always going to La Azteca. It's like, hey, this stadium, these fans, and this region it has the best support. Here you go.
Yeah.
You get to
those places don't necessarily care about La Selección. If you talk to Tigres fans, it's Tigres over La Selección. They could give two fucks about La Selección.
porque son
They think they're
europeos o
their own
qué?
country. They think they're their own country, man. They think they're European.
Well, La Volpe actually talked about that, not too long ago, about taking games away from Azteca and giving them and giving games to like different venues. I think he was talking about like Aguascalientes. He was talking about Monterrey and stuff like that. But I don't think about it. I mean, for basically 20 years or so, the Mexican fan has been treated like the redheaded stepchild, because just about every game, the executives always want to take games to the U.S.
Hell
to
yeah.
the U.S.
Dollar bills, y'all.
So like it is. I mean, I just
Yeah,
I
another analogy I have, as far as like it's losing its intimidation and history and culture is like, the Raiders moved from Oakland to Las Vegas, and now there's more away fans at that stadium, and like there is no black hole, there is no like all that shit got lost because of wanting to have more suites and more VIPs, and it's just like, unfortunately, this is part of the modern game, right? It's like sold to the highest bidder, like whoever's gonna bring in the most money and generate the most revenue, we're gonna accommodate those people. And I'm not looking forward to the 2026 World Cup for that exact reason, because the stadium's gonna be full of a bunch of influencers. It's not even gonna be people that care about the sport. It's just gonna be how many celebrities can we pack at every single World Cup match. And I think that's the unfortunately what's happening in the world of football.
Yeah, the companies they'll buy a lot of the tickets and then they just give them away. It
well,
becomes it does become hard for the average
it's like
fan to get a ticket.
when I was in that when I was in South Africa. I mean, I was lucky because I had taken we rented a car, but there were games where, especially towards the end, the latter stages of the tournament, there were instances where fans were not able to get to the stadium or got to the stadium very late because you just had nothing but social influencers and media and like in celebrities that were taking away the airspace at a lot of the airports flying with with their private jets, heading into the stadiums and stuff like that. So I mean that was even the case back in 20 back in South Africa. So but I think you're right, it is going to be, you know I don't think any of the stadiums for this upcoming World Cup. I don't think they're going to be in. And to be brutally honest, I I never, you know, even the German games that I went to, like the Germany games, really the only stadium that for me was like intimidating. What was the Dortmund Stadium?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that was the only stadium that where you actually felt that there was a home field advantage for Germany, but that that's also the stadium where Germany got beat by by Italy, in the semis and stuff like that. But like I said, in World Cup, it's not that type of environment, and I was actually very surprised, when I went to the Germany World Cup, because I was kind of expecting a different environment, especially being in Europe,
Yeah.
and it was totally different. It was a lot of glitter, a lot of stuff like that, and it's same thing in South Africa and stuff like that. It's you didn't have that, me. I wanted to see a little more hostility, like a little bit more chanting
Yeah, for
from
sure.
the fans. But you're not going to get that. It's too commercialized anymore. You know.
I think when eventually it returns to South America, maybe.
That
I
that
don't
one's
know. I think
50-50.
everyone's getting priced out intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they did it in England when they switched to the Premier League. A lot of the stadiums, the older stadiums used to have sections where it was pretty cheap to go in, and it was like there wasn't seats. It was like you just stood.
Stands.
And,
Well,
yeah, and you had a lot
you,
of the hooligans there. And yeah, they priced all that people out.
the the stadium that I actually liked a lot, believe it or not, when in Germany, it wasn't a World Cup stadium. It was the last game of it was Mexico's last game, preparation match,
Uh-huh.
where they played the University of Göttingen.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and the stadiums was just like something that you would imagine from the 60s and 70s, where no seats. It had basically it had the stands, and like every fourth or fifth like row there was like a metal,
Like
like a
rail.
rail, like a
Yeah.
rail
Yep.
and stuff like that. Like, and if you ever watched the movie like Fever Pitch, not the one baseball but the one about soccer, where you see the guy played by the actor Colin Firth, where he takes his girlfriend to the stadium, to the stands, it was kind of like that, and it was just so much fun uh, to be in that stadium that night and stuff like that because it was just, I mean, it was packed. It was just packed. Mostly Mexican fans, but you also had a lot of local, German fans that were getting, I think they were, most of them were, if I'm not mistaken, most of them were college kids, college students. So it was just a really nice atmosphere.
Yeah, they it's funny you mentioned that. The Wrexham show on Hulu, this season they open up with the cop, the cop stand where, that
Yeah.
that was where everybody stood. It was like the standing room, and they're tearing it down, because they're trying to expand the stadium and make it more, I guess first grade or whatever, like international standards. They're trying to build it so the Wales national team can actually like play there again. But the guy who owns the bar right next to the stadium was kind of like, it's like he was happy, but he was also like hurt because he said that the first game he remembers there was he snuck in to the cop, and you just don't see that in football anymore. It's like it's going away.
Well, I hope they build another, 10 more bomboneras in Mexico because for me that's the ideal. That's the ideal atmosphere.
Well,
You know,
it's most likely to get more Mazatlan like stadiums.
yeah, you know what? The lower divisions in Mexico and Liga de Ascenso, some of their stadiums are actually kind of interesting looking, and and stuff like that. They just need more. They just need more funding but like I said, I mean, for me, in terms of the stadium, I think the best stadium in Mexico. No knock on Monterrey, no knock on Chivas, but Toluca has it. You know,
Well, Veracruz,
Toluca.
right? They should be getting a new stadium soon.
We'll see.
We'll see.
The city is building it. Yeah.
Speaking of Veracruz, what's the name? The comedian, what's the name? Is Camilla and
David.
Falteson were, yeah,
Yeah.
David Falteson recently had an interview,
Hmm.
and Franco Escamilla, Falteson was talking about how he was recently over there in Veracruz, and he witnessed that the stadium was finally demolished, and with that, he was hoping that it would finally come to an end.
It's
And
never coming to an
Franco's
end.
no, Franco's coming here saying, no, you know what? I want to I want to set up a fund
Like a
because we need a
statue.
statue. Yeah, he needs
I would love to see a statue of that. That'd be hilarious. I'm gonna go to the YouTube comments real quick. Disco Fever, welcome back. Says Chivas hits a new low. They are the DC United of Liga MX. I can't speak to that. I don't watch MLS, but maybe Habibi can say something about that. He also said the Jets will win more games than Chivas, even without Rogers. Damn.
I would think that he's mentioning DC United because they were like the darlings. They were the powerhouse team like in the early years of MLS,
Hmm.
Yeah, they
and
were
they.
with
I mean, like I
Bruce
think they won
Arena.
like. Yeah, I mean that's what kind of put Bruce Arena on the map, and that's what got him into the national team.
I think they were they the
And
first
that's
ones
why
to
they
win
beat,
the title or
I mean,
no?
I believe.
I'm not sure if they. I'm not, I don't think they. I don't remember who won the first season, but
I think
I
they
remember
did,
they.
man.
I think they had won like 3 out of 4 or something like that, and they also won.
Yeah,
Now, granted,
Intercontinental.
yeah, they won
They
the
beat Vasco da
Intercontinental.
Gama. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also won. The Concacaf. Granted, it was all in the U.S. So they were like they were like the standard, of what what an MLS team should be.
Yeah, so
But
they won the first 2 seasons and then a third in 1999. So yeah, they started off hot off the gates.
have they,
Yeah, they
they
had
won?
Echeverri.
Have they won recently?
They won in 2004, and I think that's the last time DC won. So they have 4.
Yeah, they used to be like back in the day, like in the late '90s and early 2000s, at least a lot in the non-Mexican but Latin, circles, they were very popular because of they had what's the name? What Hoyle said,
Echeverri.
Echeverri, but they also had another
Lalo.
one.
Okay.
They
Oh,
they also had
another Bolivian, like I think
no
from the
no it
national
was
team, no?
no I think he was
No,
Colombian. I
I
think he
was
was
sworn they
Colombian.
had two.
They had like two
Or
two.
there was a way to check, Ron.
I can check.
There was
I
two
was
Latin
saying
Americans
away to
started
know.
in it.
I think they had. I think it was another Bolivian, also from the national team. I don't know if it was named Sandy or something like that. I think it was a
No, no, no,
striker. Are you thinking of
no,
Colombian?
no. I think he was Colombian. I
Okay.
don't. Not. I'm not Pibe Valderrama, but it was.
No, Pio was in Tampa Bay,
Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Let me see.
or he
DC.
was in Florida. I don't know.
La Mosa.
Mm,
Carlos
Who?
Lamosa was from Colombia. They had Jaime
No,
Moreno.
but
no,
Carlos Lamosa
Moreno.
was played for the U.S. Moreno. What was he? Was he a attacker?
So, no, there was Moreno. There was also Raúl Diaz.
Eddie Pope.
Oh, those were our national
No,
team players.
that's right.
Lamosa went on to play with the national team, but for
because
the U.S.
you had a lot of the Central Americans, especially the Salvadorians, go. They were just fans of what's his name, Cienfuegos in Galaxy, and Raúl Diaz Arce.
Cerritos from San Jose.
Is that?
Ronald Cerritos was a big Salvadorian favorite.
He was a favored. The Guatemalan guy, what's his name? El Pescadito.
Pescadito Ruiz también. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that, and it's funny, man, because you had a lot of back then you always had the Central American
Right.
soccer fans.
You had a
Always try to,
Wilbur rooting
You know,
for their team, man.
no,
dude,
they would always try to shit on the Mexican fans because like for some reason Mexicans haven't really done very well in Major League Soccer.
yeah.
Whether it was Hugo Sanchez or what's the name, Carlos Hermosillo or El Brody Campos. I mean, they had here and there some good moments and stuff like
Campos
that.
did pretty good. That first season, he did really good. So you could even see his highlights, and he
Yeah, I
would.
know.
I think he just put number 9 because they
But
made it all the
but
way to the final.
but what I'm saying is that the Mexican
Oh,
the
like the
Mexican the player never really treated, at least in its early, at least in its first 15, almost 20,
yeah.
15 years.
Well,
They never
they had like
treat they
one good
never treat
season, and then they sort of dialed it in.
they never
Yeah, it's,
treated they never treated Major League Soccer as all right, this is the league that I want to stay in, this is the league that I want to retire in, like not
well, I
not
think
not
that's
using it.
Carlos Vela, right? Like I think that's the exception where you're finally gonna have a player that's like an icon for the club.
Well,
Player that did so much for the team. They're still remembered, and I don't think
I
since
I
the
mean
obsession we've seen Mexican players like that.
I
Where
think
you could
Vela's
say,
I think the Vela's really the first one, because even though Cuauhtemoc Blanco did well with the Chicago Fire,
yeah,
it's not like
It was
he made.
a short tenure at
Well,
Chicago.
yeah, it was like
exactly.
2 seasons or something, right?
It was a short tenure, but it's not like he was. It's not like Blanco was looking to retire there, and he just went there for the payday, and that's good, But he delivered. It's not like, you mentioned, Rafa Marquez to MLS, fans, especially the New York fans.
Oh yeah, they hate him.
He's they fucking hate him with a passion.
Yeah, he was only there for
They
2 years. He scored 16 goals, 62 appearances for Chicago Fire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
he
mean,
Blanco could have been had he stayed, but yeah, it was short. Just really quick, guys, and I regret losing this, but I went to the very first Galaxy game. It's Galaxy versus the New Jersey Metro Stars, and they gave us what are they called? Um, they do this in England. You could buy like a brochure, like
Scarf?
no, it's not a scarf, it's like a book. It talks about the game.
program.
Oh,
Program. Yes, they gave us a program. Uh, One of you guys needs to go on mute. You're getting echo. Thank you. Oh no, I still have the echo. Um,
It's probably Ron.
Silence yourselves. All right, yeah. So yeah, I had the program, and I think it wasn't just for that game. I think it was like the league wide program that they did, but it was like a big dude. It was like a big magazine.
Mhm.
Well, not magazine, but and it talked about all the teams, and it was kind of surreal. Some of the names there because it didn't feel it just didn't feel like soccer. It felt like kind of like a game. So because they brought players from everywhere, so they had players like Dr. Kumalo.
The fuck?
It was a player that, yeah, Dr. Kumalo, and then there was they had an actor for the Galaxy, Andrew Shue, who's Elizabeth Shue's um, brother, and
I
he was
remember that.
acting on some.
I remember. Yeah, he was on Melrose Place, I think. I remember
They
that.
had a couple players like that, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I had
And
to Google it.
yeah,
It's real.
Dr. Kumalo.
Teophilus Kumalo. He was from South Africa.
Yeah, they had the stars or the personalities,
It
and
says
some of the names are weird.
it says Columbus Crew.
Yeah, and if you go to back then, like the logos, the very first logos, '96, dude, they look weird, dude. They were just like they gave them to Nike. Nike kind of did all the logos except for DC United. DC United was the only team with Adidas, and they had the only like real soccer looking logo. All the ones, it's like Nike were just like fuck it. They just handed it to some intern, and like so like the Tampa, what was it? Because it was Mutiny.
The
It
Tampa
was
Bay
two.
Mutiny. There was
I
the
think it was the Mutiny, but it looked like the Space Invaders. Like if you ever played that old ass game, Space Invaders, it
yeah,
looked like that little. Yeah, and then like San Jose,
had the
um,
scorpion.
they were the Clash, and they had a weird looking scorpion.
Hmm.
You kind of can't tell it's a scorpion. It kind of looks like a little pyramid. So they
Yeah.
had like just a weird and the colors, dude. The colors were all weird. The Galaxy looked like Halloween colors. They had black, orange, and green.
Yep.
I was like, what the fuck is this, dude?
I like the Dallas Burn because it looks like the horse from the Denver airport, the one that looks all evil with the red eye.
He's
Yeah.
shooting fire from the mouth.
He's shooting fire through the mouth. DC United looks like an old school Nazi logo with the eagle. And
But they were-
the Columbus Crew just doesn't make shit sense. They're all wearing bowler hats like they're the fucking
everybody's-
what was the
the
villain?
YMCA.
What was the villain? No, the villain from Bond with the bowler hat. What's his name?
Ron should know this one. Not to me, it reminded me of like the village people. But it was
Odd
like
Job.
I-
3 odd
Yeah.
jobs
Was
in
it
the
some-
Columbus Crew,
Was
man.
it three guys right with construction hats?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the Metro Stars was a taxi. It was like a little taxi.
Yeah, bro.
It looks so weird. Man. I feel it was like, what?
Do you remember their the first soccer ball for Major League Soccer? It actually looked more like a damn volleyball. You know the way.
It was Mitre. Mitre made that soccer ball.
I mean, I wish I had. I mean, I remember back in the when I was in college. I don't remember. One of the guys had it, and we used to basically use it for intramurals and also to play. We used to play back in the backyard, basically the equivalent of like basketball, but we used to do soccer. We used to combine soccer and basketball. Uh,
Yeah.
that's what we
And the
used to
shit
do.
talking from basketball, Rob.
Yeah, that's what we used to do. And
That's funny.
but yeah.
I have another quick comment from this. This is actually, I'm gonna mute you real quick, Ron. It's kind of distracting. So from our Spotify Q&A, we had someone reply last week. So yeah, if you guys are listening, if you have anything to say about the show after the fact, just put it in Spotify. Navarrete said, my personal opinion with Marcelo Flores is he's benefiting with the Tigres move. He's training with the players who have been the top Mexican team in the last decade. So this is in regards to the last episode where we were, contemplating, was Marcelo's move to Tigres the best option? And Navarrete gave us a different perspective. So appreciate the fans sending us their opinions over there on Spotify. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that.
Well, I just really quick. I've never bought into that. I used to. Like believe in that, the whole notion of because you're with this team or you're playing against these guys and you could get better. But just throughout the years, it's always been the more PT you get, the better you're gonna get. That's just playing day in, day out. And I've used the goalie comparison where Chivas had the goalie that he was in Europe for 4 years, right? He was in
Godinho.
Portugal, training under
Casillas.
training up. Yes, thank you, Jaime. Training Casillas comes back to Chivas. He's fighting for the spot with a canterano that was playing at Tapatio, right, or playing in some second division team, and he couldn't beat this guy out. He
So
couldn't.
using
He's
the
not even in the
Chivas
team anymore.
comparison, would you say Marcelo Flores would be better off training with his Chivas squad if he's getting more playing
No, not
time
training,
than
playing.
being at
Yes,
Tigres?
playing. Yes, just playing day in, day out. You just play, you play, you play. You just play.
So you're
Keep
saying that
playing.
with the negative results and everything that is coming
Don't
on
matter.
top of the team, it'd be
Don't
better
matter.
for his development
Yes.
than being with a successful team where he's going to
Cameronesi
actually
went to
learn.
Cameronesi went to Kievo.
Sendejas leaves
Team got
and he's better
relegated.
off. Chino Huerta leaves and he's better off. So I find
Yeah,
it
but
hard
they're
to
getting
believe that
playing
when you
time.
go to
They're
a
getting
shitty
playing time.
team, even if you're playing more, that it quote unquote makes you better.
But
I
they're getting
wouldn't
playing
say.
time. That's the point.
All
That's
right.
the point that those guys you mentioned. They're still playing.
This is the part where it's not about you get better. It's just you're better like playing week in and week out than sitting on the bench on a Real Madrid, right? And that was
think you get better. I mean,
yeah.
it's the 10,000-hour rule.
Yeah. And another thing too is like with Navarrete's comment about, he's training with the team with the players who have, they just won the championship. I understand that, but you were at Arsenal, bro. You were training with the elite of the elites. So it's like
exactly. Dude, just in that point alone, that should have been enough to come back and not just be the starter, be the like one of the main guys of the team, be one of the star players. I still think it's.
I didn't get a chance to catch the Rayados Tigres match. I'm not sure if he got some minutes there, but we'll have to see how his development unfolds now that he's in Liga MX and he's playing in the first division. He's not playing for the under 23s. We'll see what happens.
I do think it will help him is that he's on a team that's going to be, playing for the championships and all that, and he will be getting PT. I do think it's in the interest of Tigres, so I do think they like promote him, and even it helps Tigres to have him in selección. So I think in that sense where he's like on the spotlight will be on him. I think that's beneficial for his career. But I mean, I'm talking just playing wise, like development wise, just playing, dude. I mean, look, Moranesi goes to Kievo. There's two Kievos. I don't know if it's because Hellas, or there's two. He went where this way. I think it was Kievo. Huh? I'm kind of getting confused. Yeah, I think it's Kievo, Verona, and Hellas, Verona, but I think it's Kievo. Yeah, he goes. They get relegated. They got relegated that season. He was playing. He ends up going to Juventus and becoming like one of the key players there, and eventually gets to the Italian national team. He didn't go to like Inter and ride the bench. He went to one of the worst teams in the league where he got the PT, and then eventually got noticed by Juve. And
he went to Verona.
Which one? Because there's like two.
Huellas Verona.
The what?
Huellas Verona.
Oh,
Like hell, I guess in English it's like Hellas Verona.
Ah, there you go. There you go. See, that's the one I was thinking of. Because I think, yeah, there's, and then I forgot the other one. I think it's Schievo too, but whatever. Yeah, that team got relegated. He goes up and he ends up over there. So yeah, to me, it's always been just playing time. It's like if you were to pick up the guitar, if you practiced every day, at the end of the year, you're bound to be pretty good. But if you practice once a week, you're not going to be as good as the dude practicing every day.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between training every single day with elite players that are better than you and then actually getting playing time and getting that experience. There's a lot difference than training and an actual, like, professional first time minutes. It's night and day, man. I mean, I think of myself when I was, playing soccer in high school. I was a what they call a role player. I wasn't a starter. And in training, you bust your balls and you can see the difference in quality. And you do get better by training with these guys. But at the end of the day, man, like when they throw you out to the game, dude, it's like a completely different game, bro. The intensity, the physicality, just like the dog fights that you get when you play first division minutes. You can't compare it to just being in training. Like you can only train for so much. It's like, boxers is what happens to them. Sometimes they overtrain for a fight. By the time they get into the ring, they're done, So there's a huge difference. And there's even a huge difference playing in the under 23 of Arsenal and playing in the first division anywhere. So we'll see how it goes for him. But I'm gonna wait on the verdict. I wanted the name of today's episode is Chivas Crisis Center. Joel, I don't know. This is a shout out to Big Soccer at Mekis. Who actually made that thread?
That's me. No way. I didn't do Chivas. I did America.
You did the America one. Yeah.
I did the America one to clown on them because they were like crying and stuff. So I took all the snippets of what they were crying because someone would be like, "Oh, I could shoot myself." So that gave me the idea. Like it sounds like a suicide hotline, and so that was kind of my like running. Well, although it's nothing to joke about, but that kind of was what I was going for. And but then Chivas ended up going on a slump, and then Ron did the Chivas Crisis Center.
Touche. Still alive and kicking today.
He got his laugh.
Yeah. There was a topic that me and Al Pastor, we went at it for a little bit. I feel like all of our best conversations are unfortunately in the DMs. They're not on our podcast, but I'm ready for a few rounds. I will die on this hill about Carlos Vela and how I do not claim him. I do not root for him. I do not support him. And there's a whole like fuck Vela thread on Big Soccer that stems all the way from 2013. And I don't think these new kids understand the history of Carlos Vela and why some people are on the fence about, supporting him and having joy and following him. But, this goes back to 2005, man, when they won the World Cup under 17. Him and Gio were sold as the, new golden generation of Mexico, that they were going to bring us a lot of silverware. And this was just one of many. And, what ends up happening is not that. The opposite of that, actually. So
yeah, the media did a disservice because it's a youth tournament, and youth tournaments have never been a predicator of success with the senior national team. And so, but they were just creaming themselves because Gio was already in Barcelona. He left really early. And then when Arsenal was waiting for him, and he ended up leaving without playing. He didn't ever debut at Chivas, and so now you have two players in two top teams, and they're champions of their category, and so yeah, the media just started having a field day with that, and it's like we kind of have the example of the when Portugal had their golden generation with the under. I think they won the under 20 World Cup back to back, and they had some really big names come out of that, like Figo and all those guys. And they didn't do anything at the World Cup level. They ended up losing to the U.S. at the group stage. They didn't even make it past the group stage. Um, and so, I mean, you have examples like that. And so I don't know where the media just were like, they didn't care, man. I think that's a lot of times where a lot of Mex fans get all worked up because they'll end up believing the media. The best current example, I must say, with Chivas, right, when they buy the scrubs with Elias, the players they brought were just like pretty average. They call them the Chivalacticos. You're comparing Chivas to Real Madrid Galacticos because they spent like what 40 million. It was just ridiculous, and I was like, I always wonder why the club never said anything about that. They should have announced a press conference and be like, "Hey, slow the fuck down, man. We just bought players, not exactly brought national team, starters to the club."
I'm looking at it. It looks like that Portuguese team that won the 89 and the 91 World Cup under 20. Yeah, man, there's some big names on that roster. You had obviously Figo, Real Costa, Pauleta. You had a few, man. That I mean, Figo had a great career, but obviously, like, none of this really translated to the senior team. Like, what's Portugal's best finish? Like semis in 06?
I don't even know, dude. But I mean,
What do you mean? I mean, that's huge for Portugal. Third place game.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, that was their best finish, like, in their history.
I mean, that's a change. They
But
went
they got fourth
not
place.
doing anything with the Portuguese team, winning those back-to-back World Cups. Then in 2006, they go ahead, get third place,
fourth,
and then they end up winning.
Yeah, but 2006 is far away from that.
Winning Nations League. Like, they went
That's
from
far
not
removed,
being
dude.
anything in Europe to like being able to like compete.
Yeah, but that's a different team now. You went.
What do you
Those
mean
guys
it's
are
a
like
different team? You're the guy who says that you build upon the past. Those guys winning those back-to-back titles is what made
those are
that
the ones that
country
are
better.
those,
Because obviously you see you're doing something right, so they kept building. Oh, there's been a lot of great coaches that come out of Portugal. You say the
Portugal's
Dutch
have
league
good
is the
teams.
development league. The Portuguese is development league too. Porto and Benfica, they're always selling players for crazy amounts to the rest of Europe.
No, but we're talking about
Obviously, they built
Okay,
on
Jaime,
the success of
what
those
years?
back-to-back World Cups.
What
Because the
happened?
results show it.
What years was it? 89?
89 and 91.
89, 91. Pretty sure they missed the 94 World Cup.
But you still build up on top of it. Mexico won
But
that
that's not the point.
1982 World
You're
Cup.
missing the
And
point.
then what happens down the road?
But you're missing
They
the
won an
point.
Olympic gold medal. Everything builds
Yeah, but
on top
you're
of
missing
each
the
other.
whole point. Yeah, but you're missing the point of it being a predicator that because you did this, you go on to go off of that. It's not. I'm not saying there's nothing good come out of it. I'm just saying you can use that and use that as a reason to say, oh, now we're World Cup contenders.
No,
right? Sort of like
World Cup contenders. I'm just saying you can't.
But that's what I was talking about.
It. Say that they got nothing out of that. They will disagree with you.
But see, I was using the example because this is a team that goes from being that dominant and then they can't qualify to. Let me double check, but I'm sure they didn't. They didn't go. Were they at the '94 World Cup?
I can check for you.
And then I don't even remember if they did anything in '98.
98, they flopped, if I'm not mistaken.
See, so that's the whole thing, with the whole point where you're expecting this success at that level. That stuff you're mentioning happened way after.
I don't see
by
them.
that point, they're not dependent on the youth thing.
Yeah,
they were like it could just be the Federación taking things more serious or working there. So, but I'm just going my main point being, if a team does well as like a youth team, you can't use that to say, oh, the senior team is going to kill. So Nigeria, because I remember everyone was talking about Nigeria
They
when they
didn't.
beat Brazil.
Yeah,
They beat Brazil at the Olympics. And that had Ronaldo, top Ronaldo, man. And there's like a stacked Brazilian team. And Nigeria wins it, dude. And everyone's thinking, here comes the next big team. And they didn't really do much at the Nigeria World Cup. They gone with, I think they just beat Spain at the group stage. I think they crashed in the next round. Man, you didn't really hear much about them. And so that's been kind of my point with the mixed media, because the under 17 one, but it's like, dude, it's under 17. You can't go and call this a golden generation, and like you're blowing too much smoke of people's ass and creating these like lofty expectations out of a youth tournament.
You can
It's
go
like,
ahead and call it golden generation, but you can't ignore the fact that you're working towards the right path. Because you have said it yourself. You have said it that people, one of the reasons they're so Molero games is because they use the money for other things. That the reason that Mexico
yeah,
does so well in the youth levels is because these players have played so many international tournaments.
yeah.
So yeah, you can't call it a golden generation, but you can't just say, "Oh, well, hey, I know you guys did great there, but that doesn't mean you're going to do great in the future." Like, calm down. Obviously, you're
No,
doing something right. There's nothing wrong with having some hope that if you keep doing things right, this level can translate towards a higher level.
but to
So
me, that's not like
real
hope.
quick,
That's not having hope. The media saying it's overhyping to me.
real quick. I like to talk stats, not opinions. So let me just go over the under 17 World Cup winners. Brazil has 1, 2, 3, 4. Nigeria has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, Mexico has 2. Ghana has 2. But these are just some of the countries that have won the under 17 World Cup. Has not translated obviously to any success except for Brazil, but Brazil's being Brazil. When you look at the under 20, the most winningest country, Argentina, with 5. 6, actually. Argentina's won it 6 times under 20. Brazil's won it 5 times. Portugal's won it twice. Yeah.
So what's your connection? Are you saying that because those countries didn't go ahead and win the World Cup, right after that, it doesn't really matter? Because what I don't look at
I'm
the final
not
result.
saying
I
that.
look at the journey.
I'm just saying that there's a
how many
huge
of those players actually went ahead and did something. Because if you look at like the players that Mexico like played in that final against Brazil, or even the U21, a bunch of those players moved on, went to Europe, and are having great careers in Europe, or even back in their domestic leagues. While the majority of the Mexican players haven't even debuted for their main team, or didn't even go on ahead and had a great career. So because they won these World Cups, but they didn't go ahead and win the main one. How about you look at the fact that the majority of their players are actually going out and
Again, you're pissing way off the pot, because the main point was using it as predicator for the team, the senior team, to go and have success. Yes, the players, they're good players because they won, and yes, they could go on and have good careers. That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is having that mentality, thinking that because it's under 17 they could, that at the senior team is going to do good now.
Well,
and you really
Mexico might
can't.
have a lot of have that mentality, but these other countries are, because the majority of their players that are successful at that youth level, they go on ahead and have successful careers in Europe.
Yes, but now you're talking about the player. Talk about the national team. I guess I just used Portugal as an example. 94, 98, it didn't do anything. And I would say under 20 is a lot closer to the senior team, and it was more was expected. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter to have that success. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. It's important and it's good. I'm just saying, don't use because you won here, think that you're going to win over here because of this, because it's a whole different thing. So doing good at the 17 or under 20 doesn't mean that your national team is going to go and emulate that.
And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you
look at
the majority of their players, they're moving on and having good careers. You can put that as success. Not everyone's looking at, because we won the U17. Our World Cup team in 4 years from now is going to be amazing. Not everyone's looking at that, but a lot of people measure success by how many of those players that won that World Cup actually move on to have meaningful careers. And if you look at other countries, it's the majority of them. As for now, Mexico, Nigeria, no, Mexico, Nigeria is the opposite. They have success on the youth level, and then you look at their players where they go as seniors. Majority of them don't have that success. So that's where the real question's at.
Well, that's your question, because we were just talking about Max and being called golden generation, and then I just said how we've seen a lot of teams that were successful at youth that at the senior didn't do anything, and then
Well, that
you
is a
brought up
golden
the whole
generation,
other
though. It
stuff.
is a golden generation for the level they're competing in. If no one else
No,
was able
no,
to do it before and you did, you're a golden generation of that U17
to
level.
me it's exaggerated because it's like you're calling it a golden generation, and it was like one or two players that stood out, and you could have another generation of players that did way better, did way more, and maybe they didn't win, but overall they were the better, you know, um, the better team.
No one remembers losers. People remember winners. And if your country hasn't won that before and you're the generation that did it, that makes you a
I,
golden generation.
I doubt
No one's saying
I
you're a
doubt
golden
most people
generation because you
remember
go ahead and
remember
win the
the
World Cup and become elite players of the world. But for that level, what you did at that level, something that your country wasn't able to do before, yeah, that's a golden generation. If you
most
didn't take
people don't
advantage
even
of that golden
remember like
generation, or that golden generation didn't live up to the, what you expected from them, that's different. But you can't
aside from
tell someone that they
Giombella,
had
most people
success
won't
in
be able
something
to
that no
name you
one's
that
ever
rest
done
of that
before
17
and like
squad,
just
dude.
knock them down and say, "Oh, you're not that special." Of course, they're special. They did something that wasn't done before.
Real quick, want to give a quick shout out to Jose in the YouTube chat. He said that during the Mazatlan game, Jose Juan Esquivel was technically a player that was not allowed to be utilized because of
Oh,
yellow card accumulation. But unfortunately, that was debunked it was brought up during the
wow.
broadcast and then debunked because he has accumulated 5, but because this game was played ahead of schedule, this is Jornada 11. He's eligible to be on the bench, but yeah, it was a big topic during the match. Any way to help or benefit Chivas, but unfortunately that wasn't the case tonight. I know Atlas got away with it one
You
time.
gave me hope and then you took it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait for last, dude, for last. For having a player in the bench for what, 40 minutes? They didn't even play.
Yeah. To put a bow tie on this under 17, under 20, like, the thing about it is we've obviously seen something happen between the youth and first division and senior team. Like, I don't know what gets lost in translation. I don't know what happens during that process, but in Habibi's defense, the 2005 golden generation, a lot of those players did end up going to Europe. However, in 2011, when they won it again, none of those guys panned out. The only guy that did was Carlos Fierro, but none of these guys went to Europe or had any success. And then under 20, I think our highest performance was third place, and none of those guys panned out either. Ulises Davila was part of that run. So, I just don't think there's enough data to say, yes, you will find success in the later parts of your career because you won a youth tournament. Now with Portugal, they won 2 back-to-back. Maybe that was the spark or the inspiration to what is Portugal now, which they do develop a lot of talent. They're one of the best at doing that, actually. And they have a lot of young players. Benfica and Porto just pump these guys out like almost.
I would say it was their league, Jaime.
Huh?
Because your national team could do good. I would say it was their league, like their league improved, and that overall helped because the national team can do good, but
Yeah,
the
but
national team doesn't develop players. They depend on the players from the league. You know what I mean? So it's like even if the that team had like look at Costa Rica for example, that great World Cup they had in 2014. That doesn't exactly going to make them a better team. They're dependent on still on the players coming out of their own league, and so then that team went on to like not even getting close to replicating that, nowhere near that. And so I mean I feel it's like if your league improves, then the quality of your players will improve. And I think
Well,
that's what we've been seeing.
you gotta realize the impact that it has on the young, the kids watching this on TV.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't I don't know
no, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know Portugal's history with football, but I know that they've never been considered like a serious contender, right? Up until like recent history. But I don't
They
think
had Eusebio,
yeah.
which was like their version of Pelé.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, they had Usebo, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that
it's
was
like
their
I know that
Pelé, dude.
they've had some hitters throughout the years, but maybe the 89-91 World Cup champions, maybe that sparked, and inspired, what football in Portugal is today. So I don't know if that was like their aha moment. I mean, you look at a country like Croatia, man. I mean, they are such a small population. They produce so many world-class players, and I'm sure that their, runner up to France in 2018 is going to inspire even the
Yeah.
next generation of football.
Well, here Eusebio, really quick. With Eusebio, they third place, 1966 World Cup.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if they got to win
He
a
played in Mexico
Euro.
too, right?
I don't think so. Oh, in Mexico 70? Or you mean Liga MX? The
No, Liga
70 World
MX,
Cup?
no?
I don't,
I
I
swear
don't
he
think so,
did,
dude.
bro. No? He played for Rayados, dude.
Oh, Monterrey, dude. He did. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Damn. Guess he did.
1975. That's crazy. He had 300 appearances for Benfica from 1961 to 1975. Then he went to Rayados. Yeah, that's interesting. I have a question for y'all. So this is a topic that I think is going to be fun for us. Right now we have 18 teams in Liga MX. If you could promote 2 teams right now from the second division or from Liga MX history, maybe they don't exist anymore. Who would be the 2 teams that you think are the most deserving to return to the first division?
Deserving? I don't know. Probably Morelia. I don't think Morelia was even relegated, right? Where they just stripped out of their franchise to make room for.
They just got sold,
for
right?
I'm
Sold
gonna
and
go with bias,
relocated.
dude. Leones Negros, just because I want to see more teams in Guadalajara. I would like to see Atlante, but in the DF, not in the beach resorts.
They're not in Cancun anymore.
Where are they, man?
They they actually play in
Where are they now?
Cruz Azul's old stadium that was supposed to get torn down,
Oh,
but
they came back.
yeah.
Should have never left, but
Yeah, y'all in the chat or on Twitter Spaces, feel free to speak up. Let me know what teams that you would like to see return to the first division. If it was up to me, I would like to see Morelia return. I think they should be a first division team. They didn't do anything wrong. They just had terrible ownership. And I would like to see them play against Mazatlan and the loser gets relegated. I think that would be fair, And then Atlante, man. I think Atlante have been doing a really good job. As of late, I think El Hobby Bermudez still plays there, and they've won a few They won like a championship not too long ago. I would like Atlante to return. I grew up watching Atlante on TV, and I know that they had some really good players. They had that guy that used to dress up like Chavo del Ocho. What was his name?
this was a Chilean.
Was he
Chilean? Put the hat on.
Yeah.
Where's Ron? Did Ron leave?
I think his last name was Rey, no?
something goal. What was
Luis Gabriel
I
Rey,
think
right?
ah,
Chile,
well, there was
o el canguro, right? Is that the same guy? Am I
I
mixing them
don't
up?
remember the name, but I do know a Chilean that he would put on a chavo hat.
Yeah, there was yeah. I would like Atlanta to return. I would also
Chamagol,
Chamagol.
Chamagol.
Yeah, I mixed them up. I mixed them up.
There
Yeah.
you go. Sebastián González, they call him
Yes,
Chamagol.
Chamagol.
Yes, he was in Atlante.
Yeah, dude, Chamagol and Luis Gabriel
And
Rey.
then
You also had oh, they had some asshole, dude. They had some dude that was really good striker towards when they won the tournament in 20, I think in 2010 was their last championship. They had a good team, bro. They had squad.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I guess they. I don't know, dude. I don't know what happened in Mex that these teams weren't able to have like. Well, yes, I do know. I said I don't know. Part of it, like Necaxa, like playing at Azteca wasn't going to help them. They were always going to be seen as like the, sort of like the second team.
Hmm.
I think they needed to have like their own venue, their own stadium, and then try to corner that part of town. Like make it theirs. Like this is Necaxa territory. Um, and and I think Atlante is sort of the same. Like they kind of weren't able to like just carve out their own space and Def is huge. They should be able to do it like how we see it in London and Buenos Aires. So I think sharing stadiums for so long, I think that kind of didn't help them. They could have just had their own small stadium,
Yeah.
and I think that they would have had like similar to Toluca, like really passionate fans.
Okay, so this is the squad they had when they won their championship in 2007. They had Villar, obviously. And then they also had El Hobby Bermudez. They also had Maldonado. That was the guy I was thinking about. Venezuelan.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, that guy was good, bro. He was I remember because they knocked us out. They knocked Chivas out in the semis. And it was
Was
young.
that Profe Cruz as the coach?
Who was their coach actually? I have no idea. Yeah, it was. Yep.
Man, yeah, no Atlante, man.
Yeah. So I would if I was to pick two teams, Atlante and Morelia, but secretly I would love for Tecos to return and also Leones Negros. I would like to see more teams from, Jalisco in the first division. Chivas and Atlas are great, but Leones Negros and Tecos, I think that would be really nice for Liga MX.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would prefer that because the more teams you have, like in the city, and I think like the F is doable. You you can, I do believe they can like emulate that. Like I said, like how you have like in London and Buenos Aires. Remember when I started back when Fox Sports first started broadcasting with, and going way back like 95. It was
Hmm.
Fox Sports America, and the majority of their programming was from Argentina, the Torneos y Competencias, TYC. So I used to see a lot of Argentine soccer. It was on all the time. So I remember I'll be watching, and the commentators, Clásico de Núñez, Clásico de this. And I was like, the fuck, every game's a Clásico, dude. I was using Max. It was like three, like Clásico Regio,
Yeah.
Super Clásico, and the other one, the Chivas Atlas. This every fucking game, dude. I was like, are they just calling it that? But no, dude, these fucking stadiums are basically across the street from each other. So
Oh yeah, man.
yeah, they were big. That's what helped, and I do feel kind of had that in Mex, but sort of like we missed it by a bit because look at Guadalajara, you had a bunch of teams, Jalisco, Oro. You have Tecos, you have Leones Negros, Chivas, um, probably others. I don't know. And now you the F, right? You had Atlante, Cruz Azul, America, Pumas, um,
Necaxa.
Necaxa, and you could throw two more, three more. It's a huge city. They could just, and you could have that. You could
Toros
eventually.
Nesa.
Yeah, even though technically they're not that fit, but
Yeah,
still, you could
pretty
probably
close.
connect it by now,
Yeah.
just because how the city keeps expanding, or just move him. What is it like? Maybe it has to be 10 feet more this way so that it qualifies. But dude, yeah, that city could have and again, you don't need the massive stadiums. You could have the smaller venues like 20K stadium. You don't need because some of these stadiums it makes what was it built for like the Olympics and the World Cup, so they were massive. But you don't really need you don't need to go there.
Yeah, I mean,
You just like
go the MLS route, right? Build soccer specific stadiums. They don't have to be most MLS stadiums are, hovering around 20K and that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. You could do them where they could be expanded. You could just
Yeah.
make them a certain way that if you ever need to double up to 40, it won't be a big deal. Um, so yeah, and I still think that could be a possibility, but maybe years down the line, man, we're gonna be old, Jaime. We're gonna be like, oh, we remember talking about this.
It's like I there's this big trend right now where people with money are investing in football, right? And I just have to wonder what is preventing Liga MX, from being a viable solution for a lot of these guys, because like Saudi Arabia has so much money and they bought Newcastle and like I get it, the EPL is just like one of the best leagues in the world, but someone has to be looking at the numbers that Liga MX puts up every week in North America and the United States. Like somebody out there is like, "Yo, we're literally sleeping on like gold here, like a gold mine." And I would like to see some investors go into Liga MX and pump some money in, dude. I think that would be really exciting to see. And I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why, it doesn't happen, right? A lot of corruption and all that. But Liga MX is just like, a sleeping giant in terms of like the business side of things, right? There is the there is
Yeah,
there is the demand there's that demand in the US and it's like it's affordable, right? You could buy a team for not that much money, I feel like, and really like start a project and man, like it would be incredible to see some of these teams revive from the dead. When there was a rumor
well, yes.
about Red Bull, investing in Mexico, I was excited, to see that happen, and then it didn't. So I'm just waiting for something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think, and like, oh yeah, well, that's Man City. No, Man City, I think also, but I think was because I think they own teams
Yeah, they're branching out to
in
like
the group.
Australia and New York. I think they're in Brazil as
Yeah,
well. Yeah,
and then what they bought in MLS, right?
yeah.
And
The
NYFC. Um, yeah, that I think I might have just heard wrong, but no, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right with that. There's a lot of potential there, but I think that's why the league's been trying to structure it and and kind of copy the MLS formula, or the league owners, I should say, because they probably would like to have a plan or something like that. So that's kind of what you do when you eliminate relegation, where it's like, well, your team will still be in first division. Like you could invest money and not worry that your investment is going to be gone in a year or two because your team got relegated. Because I mean, these investors would be buying. A lot of times they don't just buy the team; they'll end up buying, fixing the stadium or training grounds, and so they invest a lot. And I was like, you're not going to want to do all that if you don't have a lot of guarantees of, you know,
yeah,
of
but
where the team's going to be at.
so I underestimated. So the Manchester City Football Group own, obviously, Man City. New York City Football Club, Melbourne over there in Australia, Montevideo in Uruguay, Troyes in League One in France, Lommel, which is in the second division of Belgium, Mumbai in India, Girona in Spain,
Damn.
Chinese League One, Japanese, and Palermo and
They could have
Bahia.
their own leagues. They
Dude, they
could just play
own.
their own.
Wow,
They
it's
could play
nuts.
their own leagues. They have their own international league.
Who's gonna be that team in Liga MX that gets acquired by the Man City group?
Yeah, I don't know. You never know. You don't know. But I do feel that Liga MX has been taking some steps into fixing things because it was very, very corrupt. 90s going into 2000s. A lot of these teams were just a lot of shady stuff. I still think there's some of it. They just can't get rid of it. There was like an article that came out recently about the cartels in Mexico are the fifth biggest employers in Mexico. The Mexican cartels, as far how many people they employ, and I think they rank fifth. I'm like, damn.
Damn.
It's like they must own because as I heard they own a lot of the avocados. Um, so all that plants and whatnot, anything they trailers and buses. Of who knows, man? They're savvy businessmen. But I know they were using the clubs to launder money. So Monterrey before they got acquired.
Oh,
Monterrey was
damn.
the dude that owned Monterrey. He would do that. He would launder money, and then a bunch of clubs ended up being affected by that. Necaxa, Atlas. It was a lot. It was getting out of hand. As this kind of the league started doing all these different rules to try to like weed out some of that. I think they. Who knows, man? I would like to think they've been somewhat successful, but I feel that just massive number of foreigners to me that's why that's always been the big reason because that's how they make money
I
just
see.
through they'll buy them from South America, bring them, um, dude, even the Colombian, I think the FARC and the Colombian cartel were even involved with using Mexican league to launder money.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, you can Google, you can put FARC, FARC, Liga MX, dude, that shit's on the webs.
Damn.
It's just not talked about because they want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just negative shit, but still.
Yeah. Moving things along, there was a Jose Mourinho sound clip that got released today.
Sou José Mourinho. Só te vou dizer uma coisa. E acaba de contratar el mejor equipo de México.
So obviously that raised a lot of eyebrows today, but want to tell everybody to slow the F down. He announced it on his Instagram as a paid partnership, so it's most likely going to be some kind of, maybe he got a TV deal or like he's going to be a commentator or something.
Consultant?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to come to Mexico and coach anybody. Yeah. He's over there at Roma having a great time, but we'll see what happens with Jose Mourinho. I really didn't know the he's given Mexico its flowers. He has always spoken highly of Liga MX. So, maybe down the road we can convince him to coach here. We'll see. I would love Jose in Mexico, dude. That'd be incredible.
Hey, we've had, Leo Benhacker, we've had Bielsa.
Yeah,
it's
for
not,
sure.
I don't think it's too far off. Dude. Even once he's really old, he come to Max for one last rendezvous. Yeah, you'll be surprised some of the people end up coming to Max.
For sure. We're coming up on the 2 hours. I have like a sort of a hot take. This will be my hot take for tonight because you know, I am a big contributor to like the subreddit on Liga MX, and right now, Joel, if you could see it, man, every time Santi Jimenez, you know, scratches his balls, they make a thread,
Oh, shit.
and every time he picks
Circle
his
jerk.
nose, and oh my god, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, you better act like we fucking been here before, bro. This isn't the first time we've had someone have success in Europe or in the, you know, RSV, you know, the Dutch league. We've seen this happen before. Act like you've been here before. And just to like give you perspective of things, right? Santi's scored, you know, he's scoring for Feyenoord. He's having a great season. But even a bum like Josie Altidore scored 20 goals in a season in the Dutch league, okay? And I keep bringing it up and everyone keeps shitting, but I'm like, dude, like, it just goes to show, like, it's not that difficult of a league to score in. I don't understand why everyone's thinking, oh, he should go to Real Madrid. Oh, dude, like, calm the fuck down,
Oh,
bro.
yeah. Because the thirst is real, Jaime. The media has pushed this whole Europe angle to the point that fans feel it necessary for Mexicans to succeed in Europe in order to, you know, the national team to be more successful. And I feel that's a lot of these fans. That's what they are. They're more national team fans, and I'm willing to bet that these guys have like their follow Euro team, probably even more, and you know, than like whatever Liga MX. But I do think is that it's sort of like that validation of like the players doing good in Europe, so we're, you know, it shows that we're good, type of thing.
We empower those who act.
I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of people have self-esteem issues, and they.
I think that's a terrible take, personally.
Oh yeah, go for it, bro. I'm here to fight, bro.
Because, like, for example, even like going what Joel is saying, that I disagree with that. Also, talking about like, oh, you know, they think it would be better for the national team. Bro, no one gives a fuck about the national team. The reason Jaime doesn't like Vela is because he quit on the national team. The reason people rate Vela is because they don't care about the national team. They look what he did at his club career at Sociedad, how he's killing it with Griezmann. When he showed up to the MLS, you know, he was killing it there too, and they see his talent. They People criticize him more for like, oh, if he actually cared about the game like some other players do, the talent he could have been. But no, I don't. I'm not mad at Bella for not going to the national team, for quitting on the national team. They made him quit the way they treated him, the way the directiva treated him. I actually got a picture with him over the weekend. No, Wednesday.
Yeah, you should have slapped him.
No, he was cool as hell, bro. He was a cool dude.
I'm sure he is a cool dude, but you should fucking remind him.
But why? Because you're mad that he quit on the national team?
But the Directiva thing, he still went on and he played the World Cup. And Mexican Directiva changes every 4 years. So the people that were there when he quit, they were gone.
Yeah, but
so
Jaime
we really
hates him
can't
because he quit
use
on
that.
2014 World Cup. And that's my whole point. That no one's hyping up Santi because hopefully he can be the savior of the national team. Could care less about the national team. You saw he should have gone to the World Cup and he didn't, and the team was cheeks. And everyone was like, man, he should be, you know, in his club. Just worry about his club, having a great club career. Yeah, anyone can score, sure, in the Dutch league if that's the argument you want to go with. But what people are looking at, the top two U223 world players in the world with the most goals are Erling Haaland and Santi Jimenez.
Yeah, but look at the league they play in.
Yeah, look where they play at. One plays with Man City, who scored like 100 goals last season. When Erling Haaland showed up, they asked him, are you surprised that you scored so many goals your first year? He's like, no, because I saw that they scored 100 goals last year, so obviously I knew I was going to score. So, but the point is that you're hating on him for what he's doing. So how come no other 23-year-old
I'm not
or
hating
younger
on
doing
him.
it?
Yeah,
I'm not.
Not doing it.
I'm not. I'm not hating on. I'm not hating on him.
EPL's not doing it.
Look,
that's not hating.
I'm not hating on Santi Jimenez. I'm just saying, act like you've been here before. It's the fucking Dutch league, and the fucking defense is a joke. He should be scoring 20 goals. We should be angry he's not scoring a hat trick every game. It's the mentality.
5 games. He
I'm
had
just saying, bro.
goals in
This is
5
like
games. What else you won? You won 15.
it's barely a
You won
step up
20?
from the MLS, dude, and that's not saying much. And that's why it's the same thing with Carlos Vela, bro. Why would anyone root for Carlos Vela? Who's rooting for LAFC, dude? That's my question. It's
No
like
one's rooting for LAFC.
he plays for the MLS. He plays for the MLS. He doesn't play for the national team. So why the fuck does anyone care about Carlos Vela? Because he's not contributing to any of Liga MX or Mexico. That's my argument. He decided to hang up his boots. He said, I'm gonna step away from the national team because I'm a little
you're
bitch.
literally what Joel criticize, having no self-esteem. Because you
No.
want club to translate to national team.
No, I'm just
'Cause that's
saying
literally
when
what
you're
Joel criticized,
look,
and that's what you're trying to defend.
my problem with Carlos Vela is he was a really great player and he had the talent. He didn't want to play for the national team because he got thrown under the bus, whatever. I understand. I understand from a personal.
Wait. Let me just clarify real quick.
Sure.
The media threw him under the bus. The directivos didn't. It was the media. And we heard this story.
Why was he the only one disciplined? Him and Juarez.
There was a few, but those were the ones that were.
But he was the only one.
The main culprits.
He was the only one that got
These are
suspended.
the main ones.
The young single dude got used as a scapegoat to protect the married guys. Simple as that.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, here's my argument with Carlos Vela, right? This guy was supposed to lead us to, success, right? And then the World Cup comes around and he says, I'm not going to go, right? And that should have been it. He should have never returned to the national team. But what does he do? After we lost to Holland, he returns. And we play Holland again, and then because of him, we win the game. And I'm like, well, what was the fucking point of like skipping out on the World Cup if you came back anyways? Like, if you're gonna fucking say, hey, like I'm done with the national team, then be done from the national team and retire for good. Don't come back and be like, well, actually, I'll help you guys. No, like, dude, like, be a man of your word. That's all I'm saying.
Or it could have been that one, it was Piojo as coach, and the other one, it was Osorio as coach, and he probably believed more into Osorio as being a professional and not just a hothead.
I don't know. All I know is
that's what he was asking for, structure.
He will forever be a little bitch to me, and I don't care about his personal
Why
accolades.
he didn't go back to the national team?
You have a responsibility to play and represent your national team, regardless of.
I just hope Joel is hearing this, because this was Joel was criticizing. That people think that club has to translate to national team, and people have self-esteem issues that, it makes them validate their national team.
Why do we?
Because, I mean, you're literally what he just criticized.
Why do we follow why do we follow the sport? Why do we care about Mexico and Liga MX? Because we want to see them win a fucking World Cup. I mean, that's why I watch and follow every single week.
So then why are you happy about Santi Jimenez?
I'm not, it's not that I'm not happy with him. I'm just saying I cannot stand the fans that are fucking creaming their pants over me. Like, this is stuff that he should be doing week in and week out, and we shouldn't be putting him on a pedestal like, oh my God, he's so good. He should be playing for Real Madrid. Like, let's slow the fuck down.
Well, I don't
let him
put him on a pedestal and saying playing for Real Madrid.
Let him,
you guys can never be satisfied. If he's doing amazing, oh wow, whoa, hold up, guys. He's not doing that amazing. If he's doing terrible, why is he doing terrible? He plays in a terrible league. Anybody could do it there. So if he does well, hey, it doesn't matter. Anyone can do well there. If he does terrible, why are you doing terrible? Anyone can do well.
I'm just saying, it's
so
like
it doesn't matter what he does. It seems you're gonna criticize him regardless.
Nah, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, we need to act like we've been here, and we don't. We do this every week in and week out.
Tell me, when Chicharito played at United and was scoring goals, you didn't wake up excited to watch the games at 7, 6 in the morning and cream.
What does that have to do with Santi Jimenez, bro?
Are you telling me you didn't do it though?
What does that have to do with Santi Jimenez?
Because you're criticizing people.
It's not the same. It's not the same, bro.
I'm pretty sure what you did back then. I'm pretty sure you cream your
pants
every time
comparison.
you woke up early and you saw Chicharito.
You don't know that.
I'm pretty sure you did.
And it's not even the same comparison. So that is
that
is irrelevant to the argument. Let me stick to the argument, because you like to throw shit out there. Look,
that the youth got inspired.
This is
the World Cup winners and whatever. Who's saying that Santi Jimenez is not inspiring youth in Mexico?
I'm sure he is. I just cannot stand the fans that are like saying that he should play for Real Madrid. It's like, dude, he's playing in the Dutch league. Let him do his thing, but let's fucking slow down here. Like, it's something that like I just can't stand. We hype up these players, and it's like with every fucking player that comes out and sits on the like Marcelo Flores, bro. We fucking built this guy out to be a fucking wonder kid, and it's like, why do we do that to ourselves, bro? Why don't we just let them do their thing without hyping them up so much? It's like it's unnecessary.
Okay, maybe not Real Madrid, but at the same time, it's not a far fetched idea. Anthony went from that league over Manchester United. The legit or whatever his name is, he went over to Bayern. Frankie De Jong went from that league over to Barcelona. Who does Madrid have a striker right now? They have a guy from a team that got relegated last year, Joselu. Joselu doesn't have the technique. He's older. So when I just mentioned that the top U23 strikers in the world as far as numbers right now are Erling Haaland, who's at Man City.
Yeah, I
and you
get
had this
it.
kid in the Dutch league. Why wouldn't you? I'm pretty sure if he was Brazilian or he was straight
But
up
he's not. He's
Argentinian,
Mexican,
didn't have
and
the
we do not
Mexican
have a track
connection,
record. We're not a
if he
proven
didn't have
commodity in
that,
Europe,
no one would be complaining. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, bro, he's Brazilian. He's gonna kill it in Brazil."
dude.
Oh yeah, bro, he's Argentinian. Yeah,
We
he's
do
gonna
not
kill it.
have the credibility,
he's
the track
Mexican, now there's
record,
that
or the
asterisk.
results to be comparing ourselves.
So why are you using that to hold him back?
I'm not holding him back. I'm happy he's doing well, and I hope that he ends up at a top club.
If Chicha could go from Chivas to United,
Yeah, but he's
why
not
can't he
Chicharito,
go
obviously,
from-
because if he
why
was,
can't
he'd
he
already
go
be
from
playing in the
Dutch league
Premier
top
League.
leading scorer
There's a
to
reason
Madrid?
he's playing in the Dutch league and not in the top league.
Why can't he go from the Dutch league to the La Liga?
He can, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's going to end up at a top team
So what's
eventually.
wrong with people getting excited about that? I mean, he's the leading scorer.
Because he's playing in the fucking Dutch league right now. That's why, dude. And you have to appreciate where he's at, appreciate the process. Like, let's just enjoy it for what it is. Let's support him. But like when people say this shit, dude, it's like it's fucking cringe, dude. Just let him do his thing. And I'm sure the hitters, I'm sure the big teams will follow suit and will try to sign him in January. We'll see what happens. But it's like we need to fucking act like we've been here, dude. Like, it's embarrassing. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm supporting him. I'm happy for him. And like, I hope that he ends up in a big club, but it's like, let's just relax here, man. It's like everybody was building up Yael Padilla after two fucking matches because he scored in back-to-back games. And what has Yael Padilla done since then? He hasn't done shit. It's like,
I get it. I mean, we started recently.
Not the same thing. Once a champion, one helps his team win the championship. Once become an established player on the starting 11. There's a big difference. One comes from his previous league being a
he's
champion.
He's a hijo de papi, bro. Stop
One's an
it.
established player.
Just talking about the circuit
championships in 2 leagues that he's played in. Yael Padilla has less than 10 games as a pro. It's not the same thing. If the guy's established, if he's the leading scorer, he has 10 goals in 5 games. If they won the title last season, and if they win the title this season, and if he finished this season as the leading scorer, there's nothing wrong with wanting him to move on to better and bigger.
No, I agree. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, let's fucking get down from cloud 9 and enjoy for what it is. I'm sure he's gonna score many goals in Holland, but let's just take it day by day, man. That's all I'm saying.
We've seen the cloud 9, Jaime. We've seen it, the Gold Cup. He went from unstoppable to not being able to score to against Central American or Caribbean teams at the Gold Cup.
He scored the winner, my guy. And it's also a team sport, remember. It's a team sport.
Yes, it's always the expectation, dude.
Or the Mexico lose.
Hey, I'm talking about expectations. So I'm not criticizing. What I'm talking about is expectations, because that's from the circle jerk. You start seeing him 20 goals, then he comes here, and that's the expectation created by the media and the circle jerk group that he's gonna kill it. And when they see that it's different, you start having hate, or all of a sudden, the excuses coming in. That's just the whole thing, kind of siding with Jaime, where it's like, no need to get over themselves. Let them just play it out.
Well, those are two different worlds. What did Hugo Sanchez do with the national team? Does
That's
that take
right,
away
same
from
thing.
Hugo Sanchez's club career?
No, it doesn't.
Worlds.
But you see people criticize his national team career, or say he didn't do anything. And that was part of it because they were expecting him to emulate what he did at Real Madrid, and he just didn't. He never did. Um, but I feel he still played an important role. But that's always been the criticism, and you could kind of see that. I guess we'll see. It's going to be more difficult because no World Cup qualifying, but we'll see. Guess Copa America Centenario. We'll see. That's where the you know the spotlight's going to be on for all the players. Like I said, Centenario, just Copa America. It's not Centenario anymore. But the Copa America, the Copa de las Americas, or whatever they
The
want to
Copa
call
America that they don't host every year now that Messi won.
it. The one that's going to be held here in the U.S.
Yeah, but you realize how they hosted it pretty much every other year until Messi won it. Now they went back to every other 4 years.
Well, you need to, man. You need to. They're hurting for cash. You have a player like of that, and they'll try to use them as much as they can.
We had somebody in the comments on YouTube say Habibi has the Santi Jimenez G string on. That's Ricardo. I don't know if that's our Ricardo, but
No, that's Ricardo definitely. I could already tell you that. You could tell me a bird drop you off that letter, and I would have told you it was sent by Ricardo.
And then he says the winner against Panama, and then a rolling laughing emoji on the floor.
Hey, Henry Martin didn't score it.
Hey, but Henry Martin tired him out, man. He tired out that
He
defense.
Tired him out, man.
It's the hard part.
It's like the guy who talks to the
He did
girl
the,
all
did the
night at the
heavy
bar,
lifting.
tires her out just for someone to come in and bang her the last 5 minutes.
Hey, but I held majority
nice
possession.
You bought her all the drinks, you got her drunk, and then you saw some big stud come in and clap her. Congrats.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Hey man, you know how to push my buttons. You ever want to push my buttons, just bring up Carlos Vela, bro. I can go on a 2-hour rant about why I hate that guy.
Best left foot in Mexican history. That's my hot take.
Habibi is radiating big Jóvenes Aztecas energy right now. That is Ricardo in the chat on YouTube. I love it. Keep it going. We're at the 2-hour mark, so I'm gonna let you guys have your closing thoughts. I obviously had mine, and we'll put a bow tie on episode 402.
Hey, I feel like I already did. I already did have a closing thought.
Yeah, it's all
I just expected to see just really quick, I'm just not so much closing thought, but like when I'm gonna be looking forward to see how Pau and the Iron Man, manage this current Chivas situation moving forward, because it's worrisome at this point. Not worrisome. Beginning to worry.
My closing thought is that, Pauno, I feel a little sad for him. He looks like a great guy, a nice guy, hard worker. He looks like he studies the game, that he puts 100% effort into his job. And it's just wild to me, the extremes that you see from 3 months ago to now. How last season, Mosso was, one of the best right backs, if not the best Mexican right back in the league. And now my man is walking all of the second half, can't even send in a proper cross. Same thing with Pocho. He goes from being your leading scorer to now walking around second half, can't get nothing going. So to me, it just tells me that it's your typical Mexican player. New guy comes in, they buy into the system. They buy into the whole team first mentality. And, they're professionals, so it's like when you get motivated, when you're like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and lose weight. And you're motivated for those first few weeks and then you just fall off the train. It's like that situation. Like the motivation ran out, and what gets you through every single day is not motivation but discipline, putting in the work even if you don't want to. And clearly these guys don't want to put in the work, and the one that's going to get let go and pay the consequences is going to be Pauno. And in reality, it should be these players because it's the same base of players that a coach can't last a year at Chivas. It's to the point where, my guy, it's not the coach. It happened like with Solari at America too. Ricardo say that America played like trash and Solari should have been getting fired, but he had him in first place. And Liguilla, different story. But throughout the season, he had him working, and then le tendieron la cama. Right now, you can tell Chivas players le están tendiendo la cama. Pauno's gonna be gone, man. But to me, it's to the point where I put like 30% on him because he has some questionable lineups. He has some questionable decisions in the League's Cup. But at the end of the day, the players ain't putting in their effort, man. Okay, Pauno left, Cadena left, Fuse left. Like, how many coaches need to come in for you guys to like get it going for more than like 3 months? Because it seems like a new coach comes in, they do well while that coach is there in the beginning, and then they fall off, and then the coach gets fired, rinse and repeat. And to me, like the ideal coach, like for a Mexican player, it was like what Piojo Herrera did. It's like where he lets them relax, he lets them party, like they practice, but not too intense. No 2-a-days, no like be a professional 24/7. Like you're just here to maintain yourself. You're not here to get better. And that's what they want. They want more like of a friend, good ambiente, than they as a professional who demands more of you.
Yeah,
So, like I said,
I
I
agree.
feel bad for the guy. I think he's a hard worker. It looks like he is. He looks like an honest guy. Even after the second or third goal, it looked like he wanted to cry. It's just like that frustration. You put in the work and the results are not coming out. I think it's all on the players, but unfortunately, it's always the coach who pays the price.
Yeah, man. Beautifully said. We need someone like Deion Sanders to come in and just clean everybody out. That kind of mentality is just like, I'm here because you guys suck, and I'm going to get rid of about 90% of you. I wish we could have someone that just went in there and cracking skulls. And, I feel like Chivas have tried to do it like the clean way, like the Boy Scout way of, you sign a pact and we're going to be professional and disciplined, and we're not going to be, we've tried it that way and it just doesn't work. So I think you do need to shake things up and say, you know what? To screw all that. The Campeonisimo era all started with a shot of tequila before every single match, and that's how they won all these championships. I think we need to go back to our heritage, our history, and traditions, and go back to like how you said, enjoy yourself. Let's just play the game and have fun. I think the Mexican needs that more than they need the physicality, the 2-a-days like you mentioned. So we'll see what happens to Pau. We'll see how long Hierro's leash is. I'm very curious to see how all of that pans out. But episode 402 coming at you from live from Twitter Spaces and YouTube. Thank you all for participating, for all of your support. A few announcements. For those that use Google Podcasts, it is going away. So next year, Google will start offering it within YouTube Music. So for all of our listeners that use, Google Podcasts, just a heads up there. You can catch us on Spotify and all the other podcast apps that are available. On our website, cantinamx.com, it's live. It has links to all of our socials and then a merch store. And if you haven't figured it out by now, we listen to our listeners. We love having them hop on the podcast, send in their questions, send in their comments. And when it comes to the merch store, we want feedback. We're going to try and roll out some more stuff. So if you want to see something in particular, maybe a beer glass, a hoodie, a t-shirt, whatever, let us know. We'll work on it. But want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Good night. All right, YouTubers, y'all need to go home, go to sleep, and wake up from this nightmare, the Chivas crisis.